When I started to look into doing a podcast, I knew I had a lot to share and say, and I wanted to do it in an audio format. I was a little intimidated, not going to lie, about how I was going to go about recording and editing and distributing and all those things because technology is not my strong suit. Naturally, I can learn things. And so when I started to take webinars and ask questions on Facebook and other platforms, I decided that Anchor was the best way to go. It's been a bit of a one-stop shop for me. I can record all of my episodes, I can edit them. It's been really nice because it's free. And when I started to do a podcast, it was, okay, how am I going to rebuild my practice? I had to close my practice down because of COVID, federal mandate. So how was I going to rebuild things? How was I going to give myself something to do? Because this defines me. What I do, it defines me. So I really needed an outlet, and the budget was like nothing. So having this free option has been great. I am recording on my laptop, but I can also record on my phone if I decide that's a way to go, or maybe I don't have my laptop on me. And so that's pretty exciting to know I can do it from there too. They also take and distribute to various apps for people to listen on, which again, that is taking one stressor away from me so I can focus on my content. And if it's something you'd like to do, if you have something you'd like to say, I can't recommend it enough for somebody who's a newbie and starting out. And I feel like even if I wasn't, new at this, it's been something I've been doing for a while, I would still like this platform because of the ease of everything. So if it is something you'd like to look into, you can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. That's ANCHOR.fm to get started. Welcome to the Infinite Dance. I'm your host, Carri Arata, Akashic Records reader, psychic sleuth, and spiritual guide. So on today's episode, I have the Akashic messages for May. And before I delve into that, I am recording on Beltane, May 1st. So Beltane blessings to all out there who celebrate. And for those who don't, it is a pagan celebration between the equinox and the solstice, representing fertility and the fire within. So we're really kind of getting into chakras number 2 and 3, stepping into our power, stepping into our innate being and sharing and feeling our creativity and our sense of worth in the world. So this is a beautiful celebration of, I think, that in our lives. It's celebrated in various ways around the world. And it's always been a fun celebration, and one that I do have memories of celebrating more in a group setting. So a lot of times there's, you've heard of the maypole, and so there's that ritual that is a lot of fun to do with other people. So taking a ribbon and winding it around a pole. So today is Beltane, so Beltane blessings to all. And I'm so happy to be here and to offer these messages that are coming through for the collective. So it's for all of us This is kind of the pulse of what's happening energetically, and just things that we might want to pay a little bit more attention to, and also some guides. We've got some avatars that have come through, and some archangels and some herb magic coming through this time too, to help give us. And I'm hearing should be an ascended master at some point, or could already be. Her messages are coming through too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into May messages from the Akashic Records. The first image I got was the image of the Egyptian god Thoth. So his name is pronounced or spelled Thoth, and I've heard Thoth and Thoth are the main ones I hear. So whichever one resonates with you, go for that. So I got the image of him, like a sideways image of his face, and he's always depicted of having the head of an ibis, so representing wisdom and magic and writing. He's always been noted as a incorrigible judge or incorruptible judge. So having the higher view to look back and make those reasonable judgments, right? So reasonable for the divine order. So I think that's really important that he came through, and there's judgment, but it's this incorruptible. It's pure. It's for the higher good. It's for the divine. It's coming from divine, and I think that's really important right now as we all start to step into. So the messages I'm getting from that for the collective is as we're stepping into and showing more of who we are at our core, right? We're being more vulnerable. We're going to be more, a little bit raw, and that can lead to others judging, because they might say, hey, I recognize that, but I don't know what to do with it. So what humans do a lot is they step back and just, judge things in maybe not so much of a divine kind way, right? It's more of a pointing of a finger. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, that we have his wisdom, his magic coming through, and we can look to his teachings to help us as we start to step into who we really are and what it means to step into and come from a place of heart and a place of our personal power. We also have Archangels Alexandra and Archangel Michael. Archangel Alexandra came first, and again, I call Metatron Alexandra, and she first showed herself how big she is. So it was kind of like you were kind of getting a long view from her, and it was kind of like up, down. So we were looking up at her, okay? And even when she seems far away, she's there. So if you feel like you're going through a tough time, you might feel like they're further, right? Your guides are further. She's saying, no, I'm still here. I'm still here to offer you support. And you can reach me still from far away. Like my teachings and my support for you of absolute change, absolute transmutation is at your fingertips at any time. Also, Archangel Michael came, and of course he's the protector, and the first image was him showing, he's often shown with his sword, and it was the tip of his sword, and he was kind of like piercing gently to lift a veil that's over your eyes, okay, or a shield to help you see. And again, it was gentle, it was a gentleness. It wasn't, you know, when I see the sword, I think of absolute again. Like, okay, this absolutely has to change, but it can be done in a gentle way. And to rethink his other message coming through right now was to rethink power and protection. You know, Michael is saying, you know, he knows when to and how to protect and use his sword. He knows how to use his power. Okay. Um, there was an image too of a scared being, and the eyes were searching for mercy. Right when he had the veil that he gently took the tip of his sword and helped lift. So it's definitely that compassion. You know, where's that compassion? He's like, here it is. You know, I'll guide with this. You know, he can also help with protection, and he can also come in and help with how to wield power, and that it can be done. You can have both. You can have the gentleness and the compassion with the sense of power. And I think that's really, really important that Archangel Michael came through with that message, especially with all that has been going on in the world, the needless shooting of um, young and older Black men and women and kids from somebody like a police officer who is in a place of power, that this message is coming through saying, no, it can't, there can be compassion with that power. And this is, I mean, it's just, there's no other way. And I think it's very fitting that Archangel Alexandra showed up at the same time. You know, this absolutely has to happen. There's no way around it. There's no argument. There's no, you know, this is, you know, she kind of almost comes, it's like, okay, this is absurd what's going on. The change is really not only wanted and needed, but it has to change. Um, so those are messages from Archangel Alexandra and Michael. A couple more images. There's a lot coming through, which I think is very fitting as we're moving into, you know, summer energy and more movement. The next image was a blue diamond shape, and a person walking through, like stepping through the bottom part of the diamond. Okay, so that's high priestess energy, stepping through the diamond, stepping into your power and remembering it. That's very important. Remembering your power, and high priestess coming in. So knowledge, having the knowledge of self, and having the wherewithal to then take that knowledge and um, teach it to others. And it doesn't have to be in a formal way. This is right how you're going to react, how you're going to interact. So very important. High priestess, so feminine, so divine feminine energy. So whichever, you know, male or female body you're in or you identify with, this energy is coming through as divine feminine, um, and knowing that intuitive knowledge that we all come into this world with. We all come into the world with our intuition intact. And the next image that I got was a dandelion, and it was a beautiful dandelion, and it was growing up through a sidewalk. So there was like a crack in the sidewalk, and the dandelion was like coming up through the sidewalk. And then I saw it was kind of, it was interesting. I got shown both of these kind of at the same time. The other image was of a woman walking around outside. So she's kind of like on a similar kind of sidewalks, like outside, in a city kind of environment. And she looks to be a little bit weary on her face. And the message was, you can rise no matter what, right? And they think of a dandelion, number one, it gets misrepresented as a weed, right? Which is just something that somebody doesn't want. That's the definition of a weed. There is no, you won't, if you looked up the definition of weed, it doesn't say dandelion or flower vine, right? It's just something you aesthetically don't want around in your yard. Um, but the dandelion is energetically known as an elixir of life because it purifies the body of negative energies, right? And the other cool thing about dandelion is that you can consume every part of it. So every part of it is edible. And I'm not an herbalist, but I do really like dandelions. I really, really, really like dandelions. And I know they're good for, immune boosting and allergies. A lot of people think, oh, they want to just pick them up but, taking them will help with allergies. There's a multitude of other physical things that it can help with: blood purifier, liver cleanser, fatigue, etc. But again, that's something you want to look into. Please delve into that with somebody who that's their wheelhouse. They're an herbalist, naturopath, etc. But just the fact that it's this strong. I mean, it's extremely strong. It's like, yeah, cement, so what? I'm still going to grow. I'm going to find a way to work around this dense, human-made element. And the correlation to what's going on now, all parts can be consumed and all parts are nutritious. And it's a way to look at our bodies, like all parts of our being obviously need nutrients, and they're all nutritious too. So, we can have this nutritious mind, we can have this nutritious heart, we can have a nutritious body, right? That all parts of us are valid. All parts are worthy. All parts are so important. So very important. Dandelions are also good for your lawns. So it's so funny people dig them up. I mean, I have dug them up. I remember quite a few times, because you always have those neighbors. Oh, look at all those dandelions, on the lawn. Some of them crying and spraying them with Roundup. Oh my gosh, drives me nuts. I think one of the balls, the puffs. So the dandelion puff ball, also called a blow ball. Of course, that we all have blown on the puff ball and made a wish. There's some fun names that came up with those. Those are the puff ball, cankerwort, lion's tooth, makes sense, dandelion, priest's crown, and my favorite was swine snout, which I'm not sure where that one comes from. But when it blows into the wind, it can start over 200 more plants. So, I mean, just think how much we could feed ourselves and help ourselves out if we just let those, do their thing a little bit more. I mean, help whatever ground you had at the time. I mean, I really can't wait to see a day where lawns are replaced with garden beds and food. We have so much at our fingertips, right? We came in with so much that we can access. The dirt, the sun, the feeding the soil, the dandelions to help to nourish the lawn, or the soil that's you want to put the garden bed in. And you've got the dandelions. I mean, just think, if you're in an area that's a little bit more rural and you have more wild, deer and whatnot around, I mean, they're probably gonna eat the dandelions, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if this has ever been really something that somebody's tried to do, but it just seems like there's a lot the poor dandelion gets um, overlooked for, and it's just too bad that here we have something that is so strong that grows through the toughest of conditions. It's beautiful to look at. We make a wish on the puffball part of it before it starts to go to seed, and here there's all this disdain for the dandelion. Um, it's I call it a bit of the duping theory. I call it like a duping theory. I feel like we as a humans have been duped and told things or gotten on the same tip of things for aesthetics. So it's not necessarily fact, or, you know, it's not a weed. It's a perennial herb, that we can have all these uses for. When we put it in a salad. Um, we've gotten so far away from the pure truth, that we, convince ourselves that something as amazing is kind of like an enemy. And that's so unfortunate. Again, we have something that it's here. It grows naturally, and we're like, no, we're going to take you out. We're going to put something else in that has no nutritional value and just looks a certain way. And the fact that the dandelion will grow in any situation, no matter what. It's like, and that's the main theme of the main messages from the Akashic records, is that we get to thrive, we get to step into our power, we get to rise no matter what. No matter what's happening around us, no matter what curveballs, what hardships, what tough times, we get to rise no matter what. And it made me think of one of my favorite authors' um, poem, Still I Rise, Maya Angelou. And I hadn't read the whole poem in a little while. It'd been a little while, so I went and I read it and cried, of course. And then I listened to her speak her poem. And it's like, oh, and I got a little teary-eyed, but she's so dynamic of a speaker and a writer. I mean, she's just one of my favorites ever. And so lucky to have her work with us still. Um, but all the things that she had gone through in her life, and went on to have this amazing career, and she's just an icon. And that's the one I was referring to as Ascended Master. Somebody who really sticks to their integrity and shines their light in a way that, still doing all the human stuff, right? But she's still doing her. She's still doing her soul's purpose. And we're all better for it. I mean, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was the first book I remember reading in high school that had a huge effect on me. And I zipped right through it because I couldn't put it down. And, when you can affect a young person with the way you write and the messages within. That's so much, there's so much beauty there. So I'm going to leave you with just an excerpt from this poem because there's just no way. Just if you have a moment to go to, look it up online or on YouTube to hear her speak it. But so this is just an excerpt of Still I Rise from Maya Angelou. So begin, quote, "You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise," end quote. And I think that's a really good thing for us to keep in mind at this point in our lives and in everything that's going on around us. I know a lot of people are coming to quote unquote, waking up more, coming into their power, speaking things they've never spoke of before. And so we're learning and how to be with all of this and knowing that no matter what has come in our lives before, we can still rise. We can still shine our gifts out, and how important it is that we need all of us and all of our personal power and intuition and knowing that we have so much support during these times. And as we start to be able to be around each other in person more, we'll be able to share more of these new stories, right? Maybe they're old stories, but they're new to you because you're facing them and you're talking about them differently. And you're like Thoth, you're able to step back and judge in a divine way, right? A reasonable way. Oh, okay, this happened. And now how am I going to interact with it? How am I going to work through it? How am I going to transmute it? And so wrapping up then the Akashic messages for May, we have Archangels Michael and Alexandra helping us with absolute transmutation and rethinking and combining a merciful power and protection. We have Thoth in his wisdom and being able to step back and see a bigger view, a longer view, a wider view. We've got dandelion energy coming through of being able to rise no matter what. And of course, the amazing Maya Angelou's words coming through with Still I Rise. So I thank you so much for joining me today. Please come by every Tuesday. I put out a new episode. If you would like to book a personal Akashic reading and chakra clearing, I also do space and home clearings also. So if that's something you're looking for, you can go to my website, ancientbodyworks.co. I am on Facebook as the Infinite Dance. So I have a Facebook page there. Go ahead and send me a request to join. I also have a Patreon, and the Patreon has bonus episodes, guided Akashic meditations, and a new edition of merchandise. So I have the Infinite Pillow. I make them myself, and they are buckwheat hull-filled pillows that are for structural alignment. You could use them for meditation, for sleeping, for when you do yoga, if you do yoga. I know a lot of clients have used them after they've been injured. So to place it under an injured area, maybe they've torn a muscle and are waiting on surgery or just had surgery. So you can place it under that area for continued support while you sleep. It's not going to move. The buckwheat hulls stay once you place them and they don't move. They're also antimicrobial. And each pillow is infused with Reiki, and it comes with your own personal little mantra. So you can check those out on my patreon.com/the Infinite Dance. I'm also on Twitter at Infinite Dance 8, and that's the number 8. And I'm taking a little break on the live guided meditations for the next couple of weeks while I move, but I will resume those and look for it coming in June. I'm starting classes. So if you want to learn how to divine, more about the Akashic records, more about getting in touch with your guides, that is what those classes are going to be about. And I'll have beginner and also ones for those that are currently doing work. Thank you again for being here, and remember to keep peeling back the layers. Have mercy and compassion for yourselves through every step of your journey, and keep asking each other and yourselves, may I have this dance?